Can everyone see that?
Looking good.
Right on. All right. So 2020 year in review. It wasn't all bad. That was our theme that we had to get us through this last year. So your executive team, who you heard from, introduce themselves. So Todd Fisher is our chair. Nils is our treasurer. Nicole is our secretary. And I think that's, and myself as your coordination communicator, communication coordinator. I'm sorry, I've been talking all day today. So I'm just really happy to be here and helping share the story. The last executive committee meeting, we started looking over all that we did, and it's been incredible. Even through this pandemic, you know, we look back and we're like, man, this was a hard year. We didn't really do much, and you guys, we did a lot. And so I'm just so excited to see some new faces on here. Hopefully, teach you guys about some of the stuff we've done, and if anything interests you, we have different committees going on and different ways to engage. So ask questions, and thank you everyone for your help putting this presentation together. So first up, we have the Blue Water Task Force, and Nicole is our Blue Water Task Force queen, and she is here tonight to share a little bit about this committee.
Okay, hi everyone. So yes, Blue Water Task Force. So for the Olympic Peninsula chapter, when I joined, it was already established that we were supporting the Blue Water Task Force data collection at Hollywood Beach, which is right in downtown Port Angeles in front of the Red Lion Inn. And we do monthly sampling all year long down there in support of this, I think, this really awesome Surfrider initiative to really be keeping our fingers on the pulse of water quality for public use. It's just a very simple process. We go out and take one sample. We do not have fancy gear, so we use a ski pole and some rubber bands to attach our water sampling tool. And many of the Surfrider chapters actually have their own labs, it sounds like, as I've been reading through the Blue Water Task Force initiative that's happening around the country. We do not. We partner with Clallam County, and we drop our water samples off there, where the Clallam County actually processes the sample and provides the information to us. And just for a teensy bit more information, I'll let you know that we participate in, not only do we take these monthly samples, but through May, June, July, and August, we participate in the beach program, where their weekly samples are taken at several locations around the peninsula within Clallam County to monitor the health of these public waterways. And again, we still only take one sample, so we're doing it one of those 4 weeks every month, and other volunteers participate during those summer months for the beach program. And I know that as a chapter, we have talked about potentially looking at other areas to monitor water quality for. So quick and brief, but if anyone's ever interested in joining, let me know. You're welcome to join us.
Yep.
All right, and then also, Nicole, just a quick little note too, there is also an opportunity to sample at other sites, right? So it doesn't just have to be at Hollywood Beach. If that's interested in.
You mean within our chapter, or?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
I mean, we've talked about doing other sites, but I do think we'd have to have a conversation just so we were aware of the budget. We do pay for those samples during the months outside of the beach program. But yes, I do think it is. We, at one time when I first joined the chapter a few years ago, we had talked about looking at the water right at the mouth of Ennis Creek, I think. I can't remember. But we didn't actually maintain it. Does that answer that question, Carmen?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Cool. Another question, if I wanted to see what the water, like what the results are, where would I go to find those results?
Hey, great question, Liz. I think you sent me an email about that actually. So I don't know.
Yeah. So if you go to Blue Water Task Force, or excuse me, bwtf.surfrider.org, I posted it in the chat. You can see all of the Blue Water Quality Task Force water quality samples posted throughout the country, including zooming in on y'all's chapter work. So.
Nice.
Questions or comments? Nope.
I have a question. Did anybody happen to take any water samples following the combined sewer overflow event after the big rainfall 2.5 weeks ago?
I know that we didn't. Although I'll have to, I actually think Faro probably did, Arnold.
Who?
Faro Marine Life Center may
Oh, Faro.
have.
Oh, yeah, that's a good, yeah, okay. Yeah, they would have to because they're drawing the water for their aquariums in there from the near shore. Yeah. For those of you who missed it, there was 1.5 million gallons of raw sewage that got into the harbor as a result of the flooding and the overwhelming the water processing facility, the wastewater facility.
Yeah, and
Arnold
I guess,
was.
oh, go ahead, Daryl.
Excuse me. Arnold, wasn't there supposed to be some kind of design when we just spent millions of dollars on stormwater retainage and for sewage overflow? Was there a failure in the system, or the system just not big enough with that incredible rain we had?
Well, they're going to look into whether or not there was any error in the management of the system, but I'm pretty convinced that it's just the fact that the system was totally overwhelmed. The roads were flooding. The stormwater drains looked like geysers. They were backed up so much there was back pressure in them. So I think,
Daryl,
the system, even designing the system, they realized there was going to be occasional events where there would be overflows, but that one was very, very extreme. But the city
was amazing.
There's a 5 million gallon tank that is designed to take the overflow, and it was overwhelmed, from what I understand.
And the director of public works for the city was calling it a 100-year rain event.
I believe
Well,
it.
all the years I've been on my property, it was the highest the pond has ever been. So I can imagine. It was almost over the top of my dock. It did cover one bridge I had over part of my pond. So
Yeah.
It was pretty amazing.
It was impressive.
Yeah. Thanks, Arnold.
Yeah. Welcome, Daryl.
All right. Any other questions or comments? Blue Water Task Force? All right.
Thanks for doing that, Nicole.
Nicole rocks. All right. Next up, story of plastics. So, Nicole, do you want to share this story about this virtual screening that you did in June? Might be on mute. Did Nicole leave us? All right. So Nicole helped facilitate this virtual screening and put together a panel of local environmental heroes. So if you guys have never heard of the story of plastics, it's a film that details life cycles of plastic and its environmental damage. So this was just a neat opportunity where people were able to register to view the film ahead of time. And then a week later, we gathered together to talk about it and just what we can do as a community to combat plastics and hold businesses accountable for their plastic waste. So it was a great opportunity. I don't know if Nicole's back on.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yay! Yep.
I'm doing this on my phone and I'm clunky. So yes, Carmen gave a great synopsis. It really was that it all stemmed from the Seattle Surfrider chapter was doing a story of plastic screening and had invited all of the Washington chapters And we talked about it, and I just really feel like our communities on the peninsula have different challenges than many of the Puget Sound communities when it comes to coming up with solutions around this plastic pollution problem. And so we decided to move forward and do our own screening out here. We had about 75 people that signed up to view the film. We had a very intimate but powerful about 17 people that actually joined as in-person, or a virtual Zoom meeting where we had our panel, including Heather Trim from Zero Waste Washington, our lovely Liz from Surfrider, Megan Euchre, who works for Clallam County Solid Waste, and James Rubel from Surfrider, and then Dr. Nancy Mesmer, who is has one of the founding members of Washington Coast Savers and is also a member of the Lions Club and has participates in a huge plastic initiative around the Pacific Rim. So we had, I think, some really excellent plastic pollution reduction heroes that were able to talk to a very interested but small group, like I said. I thought it was a great opportunity, and I think Surfrider is a really wonderful platform to provide these types of opportunities to communities. And so I'm stoked to see a large group here, and I hope that there's interest in bringing more of this kind of content to our communities as we move forward. And that's it.
Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you, Nicole.
All right, next up we have scholarships. So this last year, our chapter invited students from around the peninsula to write an essay about how they would combat dog waste on our beaches. We received 6 applicants, and out of those 6 applicants, we selected 3 students that wrote in essays. They each received $500 for scholarships to attend college. We had one student, Ethan, who presented at a chapter meeting and read his winning essay. That was really cool. And Nessa kind of spearheaded this process this year, as well as Arnold and myself. So thank you to that committee that took the time out to read essays and come together and help students for their lifelong learning. So was there anything else you wanted to add to that?
No, I think it was like we had a really good turnout. We did a little differently this year, and we got people from different areas too, which was nice. I think before we had just done it in Port Angeles. I think 2 recipients were from PA in the end, but we had a broader reach this time, which was nice.
And this is something I could really see us continuing doing. I really enjoyed being on the committee as well, and so and Arnold, I am, thanks for kind of guiding us through the scholarship process and being a great voice and all of that. All right.
You're welcome.
Any questions or comments about scholarships? All right. Next up, we have Sani Cans. So if you have been out and about, you have more than likely seen Surfrider Sani Cans. And we have Nils, our treasurer, joining us tonight to talk a little bit more about our Sani Can project.
Right. So yeah, we have Sani Cans. We have 4 Sani Cans that we pay for. 2 at Twin River, 1 at Lyre, and 1 at Place Road. And we also have 2 dog poo cans, 1 at Lyre and 1 at Place Road. And we pay $100 a month for each porta potty, plus 10 for the dog poo. So $420 a month is what we pay. And their use it's estimated that 25 people per day use each Sani Can. Yeah, that's what I have on the Sani Cans.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot of human waste kept off the beaches. It's awesome.
Yes.
Jeez.
Yeah, so
It sounds like a lot of people to be thankful.
Yeah, and a show of hands if you've used one of these or seen one of these. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. And this year, for a while, we paid a little bit extra for it because there's a lot of the sanitizers used much more than usual.
Understandable.
Yep.
Thanks, Nils.
Yep.
So real quick, Neil, so that's $4,800 a year we spend on outhouses, correct? That would be a total?
Yeah, roughly. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
And how many years have you guys been doing that?
Long time.
It's grown over
Long
the
time.
ye're
I don't
The
know.
Lyre one is
Yeah.
in more recent times. I think that probably the first one at the Elwha has been, gosh, I know Nils might know from the payment history, but it's been well over 10 years.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, I think it's
know.
longer than that.
Past 1 year.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been there for a while.
Yeah, it keeps a lot of rubble out of the woods and off the beach.
Yeah, unfortunately, I looked at them this past weekend at the Place Road, and people are still trying to stuff garbage into the dog waste containers. There was beer cans stuffed in there, and unfortunately, things like beer cans plug it up, so there's no way to put the dog waste in. I wish people would be a little more respectful in terms of how they use the facilities we're providing.
Or
So
just a
throughout-
little more enlightened would be nice.
If you see something, say something.
Yeah, but they're not around at the time, so I do say something, but you wouldn't want to hear it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Any other questions or comments about our Sani Cans? Cool.
No.
All right. So we did a solo beach cleanup and contest in July. So we asked people to go out and clean up their favorite spots and post their endeavors on social media and tag us. So everyone who participated got in the middle here this rad chapter design sticker. It was like hologram. This is kind of like one of a kind. I think we kind of blew through those stickers, didn't we, Todd?
Yeah, they went pretty fast.
Yeah, so I think I got one on my water bottle. They're coveted. So everyone that participated was also entered to win a custom art piece with our chapters designed by Todd. You can see on that right. So it was a sick custom frame made out of locally sourced driftwood that had barnacles coming out the side of it, and it was super cool. So pictured here in the middle, her name is Tien, so she won the contest. Her and her roommate went out and picked up garbage out back past, like you're heading out to the hook. But they found like they were dismantling shopping carts little by little each time. So they couldn't carry it all out. So they brought screwdrivers and they were dismantling these shopping carts. And so I was really excited when we drew their name to win this with this piece from Todd, because it was just our one of a kind original artwork that's hanging up in their home right now. So this was just a really neat way for people to get out, kind of during the summertime, kind of in the thick of the pandemic when, not a lot was going on. So it was just neat to entice people to go out and do solo beach cleanups. So thank you to everyone who participated. And I can really see us doing this in the new year, doing some more beach cleanups and more fun contests. So thank you. All right, and then next up we have chapter design shirts and patches at Swain's. Shout out to Todd for designing these shirts, and also to Joseph Stride for screen printing these bad boys. So they're just, I love it. And so we have our hashtags that we like to use on social media. So hashtag protect access and hashtag respect access. So if you are tagging Surfrider in any pictures or just tagging anything on social media, if you want to use those tags, please feel free to do so and loop us in, and we can share your stories. And then Todd also mentioned he has hats available at his gallery, located at One of a Kind Gallery at the Landing. So swing through there if you haven't already. They've done a big remodel down there, and it's pretty cool.
There's a check in the mail to the P.O. box too, but it wasn't as much as I thought it would be, but it's a start from Swain's.
Oh,
So,
good.
Checks in the mail.
Yeah.
Yeah, and thank you, Todd, for coordinating that. So you had these shirts created, and they're being sold at Swain's. So proceeds go to our chapter. So if you want to go snag some shirts, head over to Swain's.
And but are we talking about having them for sale on the website at all? I don't know. We had talked about that in the past. We can talk about it later on the EC meeting. I didn't know if there's anybody working on a website for Surfrider, or we are having them up for sale on Instagram or Facebook. I thought I remember somebody asking me about that, but maybe not. Maybe I just dropped it.
I think so. It wasn't. Yeah, but I like your style. But yeah, we can definitely explore other ways to sell these shirts to get it out there. Spread the word.
That's all I got.
Right. So if you haven't gotten your shirts, go out and get your shirts at Swain's.
Yeah, there might not be any left. We might have to do a new order. I'll have to hit them up.
I was gonna say, save me a medium.
Hey.
One day I'll get up there.
Hey, Todd, excuse
Yeah.
me. If you're gonna order some more T-shirts, can you maybe get a heavier cotton?
A heavier
I think
cotton,
they have different grade. Yeah, a thicker cotton shirt, you know.
a thicker
Yeah,
shirt.
a Northwest T-shirt,
We can look into that. Yeah.
Yeah,
not a
I
Hawaii
myself
T-shirt.
personally, I'd like a little heavier T-shirt, a little warmer on a cooler day. They wear
Sure.
better.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I agree, Daryl.
I thought you Northwesterners were
Cost-
used to the cold.
Well, when you get my age, it's a little different.
We endure it. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand, Daryl, completely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Give it up for the older guys, man.
So that was good. Swain's made the order for the shirts, so I took advantage of it and got Surfrider in on their shirts. So we
Yeah,
sold.
it's pretty
it.
awesome.
So we can look at that in the future for sure.
Yeah, the last time I was at Swain's, I didn't see any, so they might be out of them.
They might be. Yeah, I think they got
Unless
hit
they
pretty
moved
hard.
them. Yeah, they were at that T-shirt kiosk there.
Yeah, I'll have to swing up there and take a look and see
Thanks.
if they need to order anything.
It'd be cool, Todd, if we did like hoodies. Maybe if we did like pre-order of hoodies too, maybe.
Yeah, we can do that as a chapter if the chapter decides to. I know, Swain's hasn't ordered any hoodies, but if we want to put them up for sale, we could do that. If we want to run an ad on Facebook or Instagram,
There you go.
we could have those probably made up, right, Joseph? We can get together on that. He was on here.
Yeah, there. Sorry, I was something going on with the chat. Yeah, definitely look at doing some sweatshirts and then looking for maybe some heavier like workwear type blanks that'll maybe be a little thicker.
Yeah, maybe we could get something for the next board EC meeting.
Some Carhartt overalls. I would buy that.
Yeah.
Team overalls.
I like it.
Maybe some chest waders. But
All right. Well, thank you, Todd, for organizing all of this and keeping us clothed.
Yeah.
Okay, next up we have Farge. Arnold's gonna talk a little bit about the history and our partnership and what we do out at this property.
Thank you, Carmen. Lafarge is a cement mining manufacturing company. They operate in 60 different countries. They're really a very, very large company. And they bought a cement mine just west of the West Twin, and it's about a 220-acre site. And they bought it to decommission it so they could mitigate some of their use at other properties by doing a restoration project at that old cement mine. In about 2008, I think it was, they commissioned us or formed an agreement with us to monitor the property. And with that site management, we have to do monthly visits. And during that time, originally we were doing water quality testing. Since the mine was just decommissioned, they wanted to look at water quality in the pits, some of the pits that were left. So for quite a few of the earlier years, we did water quality testing. And also as part of the restoration, they wanted us to install nest boxes to encourage bird use of the property. And it was quite an interesting experience for us as people were out there regularly looking at the property. When we first started going out there, it was really pretty bare. And because they had stripped it of all the topsoil and then into the clay, which they were mining, there was little to no life out there. There was really not many birds. There were no real obvious signs of any mammals. And trees were small and just limping along because the soil was so difficult for vegetation to grow in. And now looking at it, each time we go out, we see it getting better and better. Trees have grown up. The wildlife use has increased substantially. It's a piece of property that one of our responsibilities is to make sure there isn't any illegal use of the property, motorized vehicles, and we check the perimeter to make sure the barriers are still in place. So it's fairly undisturbed, and the nest boxes get used more each year. More and more animal tracks show up, and the numbers of animals are increasing. So it's been really a great experience to see a site that's being restored after having been so heavily mined. In addition to them decommissioning the site as a mine, they had on site about a 5-acre mole, which is an earthen pier. And once they lost their lease, they were obligated to remove that mole because that was an improvement that was taken away or had to be restored once the lease expired. So they removed all the armoring around the mole, and then because it was filled with native material, they were allowed to leave that material to erode naturally. So when we go out there, we also look at how much erosion has occurred in the mole and how much of it is going back to a natural shoreline. We go monthly, and I have to say that really Daryl gets a lot of the credit for being the person who's gone out there the most on a monthly basis. Very often he's the only one that goes to fulfill that monthly requirement. At times there's several of us, and sometimes even more, depending on who's available and what projects we may be doing. This spring, early in the spring, we're going to relocate some nest boxes and add some nest boxes. And due to the size of the property and the hilliness of the property, we would certainly like to go out with a bigger group than the usual 2 to 3 that go on a monthly basis. So we might be putting out a request for help, and then we'll be carrying some product to install boxes and relocate boxes. So it's been a benefit to the Surfrider chapter because we're generating funds that helps pay for Sani Cans, but it's also been a great experience to be out there on a regular basis and see how much it's changed over the years. And interestingly, Joe and I went on New Year's Eve. We had to get the December visit in, and we just made it at the end of December. And it had been following that rain event that we had, 4 inches of rain that caused a combined sewer overflow in Port Angeles Harbor. And we've never seen so much water in the ponds and on the surface of that property as we saw on that visit. So every time we go out, there's something new and interesting to see and experience. So if anyone's interested in participating at any time, let us know and we'll loop you in when we pick the date to head out there.
Great. Arnold, I have a question.
Sure.
On that venture, when we go out to do those, I know annually we clean the boxes and we put in fresh sawdust and stuff, and maybe we can put that all in the same event.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we've lost some boxes over the years, and we have posts that are falling over now, and some boxes need to be relocated because of the fact that vegetation's taken over the spot that they're in.
Mm-hmm.
Great. So Arnold, yeah, that would be a lot of fun to get a group to go out there. I know I vote for weekends. I know that always doesn't work for everyone, but I think that'd be neat to get a group to go out.
Okay.
I vote for
Sounds
weekends
reasonable.
too.
Weekends, yes.
Okay.
Very reasonable request.
Since we have interest for the weekends, that would also work out to be an opportunity to have a little larger labor force to help on the nest box project. So once we know, the boxes are ready to go, then I'll try to set up a schedule for a weekend visit.
Mm-hmm.
Arnold, and group, it's a 3.25 mile hike from where we park the car and do the loop. And from my house, I live between Squim and PA, about 7 miles from downtown PA. And it takes me 3.5 hours to go out there and walk it. That's without doing any maintenance and to get back home. So that kind of gives you a time frame of what it is. Now, what we're planning for the spring, the box cleaning and relocating, I'm sure it's going to be longer than that. But that's kind of what we look at. But it's an easy hike. It's very pleasant. The end of it is along the shoreline from the mole, back to the parking lot. It's great. I love going out there. So.
Yep, it's good stuff.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Arnold and Daryl and Joe, for all of your hard work at this site, and then anyone else who's been able to head up there. But yeah, reach out to the chapter email if you're interested in participating, and we can loop you in on that committee as well.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, Coastal Recreation Hill Day. I know, Joe, you can't see the screen, but there is a very handsome picture of you in a suit.
Oh, that's a first.
Joe.
I think it's Photoshop.
I was gonna say that's Photoshop. Deepfake.
That's not a wetsuit.
That's not.
No, but it is surfing.
What's that?
I was like, it's not a wetsuit, but it is what he surfs in, is a business suit and a tie, because he's dapper.
I surf in a full body condom, man. It's thing rubber suit. So.
Yeah, Joe, can you share your story with us about your trip to DC and what Coastal Recreation Hill Day is all about?
Yeah, it's where Surfrider gets together, all the chapters go to DC and have meetings set up with the senators and congressmen or whoever we can get on the roster to discuss issues that Surfrider wants to bring forth. It's a fantastic experience. Anybody in the chapter that gets an opportunity to go, which is every year, isn't that right, Gus? Every year?
Yeah, this is the fourth year or last year was the fourth year that we did it, and we're doing it again this year. Although I will note it is going to be virtual, which conveniently makes it easier to access.
Virtual. I mean, nobody goes to DC?
That's correct, Joe. It's going to be via Zoom, so you can do it from the comfort of your home without having to crank out some of that carbon into the atmosphere on the airplane.
And you don't have to wear a tie, Joe.
Well, there goes my big talking point about what a great experience it is to go. So won't go there. But the actual agenda of it is to discuss, we have what we call asks, and last year we had 4 of them. And you basically introduce yourself and explain what Surfrider is and what it represents. You summarize your talking points. We had 4 of them last year. We discussed clean water and public health. And also with that, you describe the impact it has on you or your area. And I think the second one was reduce plastic pollution. Same criteria, you sit and talk with these folks and let them know where you stand, and a lot of times get them their opinions on it, that they agree most of the time about what needs to happen. It's a good experience to see how the democracy works, when you're actually engaged with people who can make a difference and be on your side and move the effort forward. So yeah, it's a good experience.
That's awesome.
Any questions?
Well, I would just add, one quick thing. Obviously, the political landscape is constantly changing there in Washington, D.C. And as Joe mentioned earlier, changes on the horizon. And that picture you see there on the right obviously looks a little bit different than it did today. Much more pleasant, I would argue. But one of the things that we were advocating for was funding for the Great American Outdoors Act. And that actually passed this last summer, thanks in large part to people like Joe and other chapter leaders who took the time to show up and advocate for this. And it actually passed with bipartisan support, which is really huge. And your congressman, Derek Kilmer, who's there in the picture, as well as our Senator Maria Cantwell, played really instrumental roles in helping to pass this. And if you don't know, just real quickly on the details of it, it takes funding from the royalties of offshore oil and gas drilling and puts them into a fund called the Land Water Conservation Fund. And then that goes out to states for recreation purposes, for things like purchasing important conservation areas and protecting public lands and providing necessary funding for maintenance of our national parks and infrastructure, things like that. So it's a really huge thing that they just passed. For the first time ever, that fund will actually be fully funded, and it's fully funded in perpetuity. And so that's a really awesome thing that I think is going to be huge for especially our rural communities throughout the country. So really excited to see that roll forward here in the coming years.
That's good news, Gus. That's first I've heard that. So it just goes to show that showing up makes a difference.
And I'll just add that every Surfrider volunteer that I've talked to that has attended either Coastal Recreation Hill Day in DC or our local Environmental Lobby Day here in Olympia, like a lot of them start out like really intimidated and unsure, and I've not heard a single one of them come back and be like, I regret doing that. Every single one is like, that was incredibly valuable and inspiring, and just nothing but positive things. So if it's something you're interested in but you're intimidated by, like, don't be. Like, it's a great experience. So
yeah, and so with that, I would just say we're asking, Liz and I are working on trying to get a representative from each chapter to participate again in this effort. And as I mentioned, it is a virtual experience this year, but that makes it maybe a little bit easier to participate from your home, and a little bit less of a time commitment and not having to spend a few days back on the East Coast. The time period of that is going to be March 8th through 11th, and we're asking each chapter to nominate a representative who could, be the person to represent the chapter. So think on that a little bit and reach out to Liz and I, or mostly Liz, if you have any questions.
And let us know by January 20th, because that's the deadline. We do want to prepare everybody who is interested. So we will provide some updates and trainings and things like that to give you the tools necessary. And you only have to wear the top of your business suit. You don't have to wear
All right.
you don't have to wear your business shoes or socks, just the top hat.
I wear my board shorts with a sports coat.
Business up top, boardies down below, Joe. You know how it is.
That's
I do.
That's Florida Keys formal wear right there.
Hey, this is Nicole. I have a quick question. Since the Coastal Rec Hill Day is virtual, does that mean more than, and maybe you already said this, I'm sorry if I missed it, but can more than one person from the chapter attend since there isn't the cost involved of sending someone over and stuff? Or are you still keeping it to one per chapter?
Liz, I don't know the official answer on this, but I think that we can create some space for that. There will also be some other opportunities in addition to, just the constituent meetings, where we're going to have guest speakers and things like that presenting. But yeah, I think we only have 5 chapters here in Washington State, and so if one chapter wanted to send a couple people, I think we'd totally welcome that, especially if it was someone who hadn't done it before and was really interested in doing it. Absolutely.
Yeah, I would second that. I haven't heard anything explicitly saying hard no, just one person, and it is over 2 different days. So if there needed to be like kind of divide and conquer. And then the other thing is we're asking if you have like a primary nomination, but also have an alternate in case something comes up and someone can't make it. So if you're interested, definitely let us know. And like I said, you don't have like 1,000 chapters that we're, I don't think we're at risk of like them with representatives. So I say bring it.
Cool. Awesome.
All right. Any other questions or comments about Coastal Rec? Well, thank you, Joe, for representing us last year, and thanks, Gus and Liz, for the scoop. And yeah, I'm excited to hear if we have anyone interested in going. I think it would be a great opportunity for our chapter to be represented. Okay, and then Federal Break Free from Plastic Pollution Act introduced. Gus or Liz, do you want to take it away?
Yeah, and I can do this. And I don't know, I didn't see, the slideshow beforehand. And so I don't know what might be behind this, possibly, if there's any other policy mention. But I'll wing it a little bit on this. So the Federal Break Free from Plastic Pollution Act, as Carmen mentioned, was introduced. And this is one of the things that we were advocating for on the Coastal Recreation Hill Day, which is really great with Joe. We were actually able to get some new sponsors, and it looks like I'm about to get Zoom bombed here. So I like Guns N' Roses. You like Guns N' Roses? Hold on just. So anyways, the Federal Break Free from Plastic Pollution Act, Liz, maybe if you don't mind dropping like the blog post into the link into the comments really quick, or if you're able to grab it. I can also dig it up here in a minute. But in a nutshell, what it does is tries to eliminate some of the really bad stuff like plastic bags and styrofoam, have a national bottle deposit system, and make some steps towards extended producer responsibility. And so we have been successful in raising awareness about this, and we're hopeful that we're going to get some traction on this moving forward in a new Congress in this coming year. So this is going to be one of our federal priorities. Along with this, I wanted to mention, because I don't know what's behind this, but one of our huge victories that we had this last year here in Washington State was some elements of this, of passing a statewide plastic bag ban. And many of you have heard about this. We've been working on this for a number of years. You all have passed plastic bag bans in your local communities. And we were able to do that statewide with really overwhelming bipartisan support. And your representative, Mike Chapman, really played a key role in helping get this over the finish line. So just wanted to mention that to folks. It was set to go into effect January 1st, but due to concerns with COVID and supply constraints of alternative bags, that's been delayed for 6 months. So, however, there's still the opportunity for you to do the right thing and bring your own bag when you're at the store and helping be part of the solution. So just a friendly reminder of that.
I want to help you.
This little guy wants to help too. So it takes us all, and that's the beauty of this legislation, is that you can all do the right thing every time you go to the store and be part of the solution of reducing plastic pollution. So with that, I'm going to go on mute. And if there's any questions, fire them my way.
Yeah, and I just wanted to emphasize, as I understand it, pieces of the Break Free from Plastic Pollution Act were made, built off of our legislation that we wrote here in Washington, with the support of our, Surfrider volunteers and everything that you guys do to help bring those issues to the table and pass those bills. And so
absolutely, yeah, here Washington and other states, we're all working on this effort around the country.
Yep. And I'll also plug, in addition to the Break Free from Plastic Pollution Act, we also introduced the Ocean Climate Solutions Act, which I'm not as familiar with, but I did just post a link to that as well, that tackles a lot of climate change issues using coastal resources as a tool. So coastal management and ocean management to combat climate change. So that's another pretty cool bill that I'm excited about the more I read about it. So
yeah. So these two issues right here and water quality are going to be our top 3 federal priorities for this year that we'll be focusing our effort on for the Coastal Rec Hill Day in March.
Right on.
Awesome.
Is that the end of the list there, Carmen?
No, we saved the best for last, Todd.
Okay.
Signs. Beep signs.
Last slide, Todd. Last slide.
Okay.
I think we have a good hour left to talk about the signs, so let's do it.
Boy.
So surf etiquette signs coming to a beach near you. We are currently working on a partnership with the county out at Salt Creek to create and install a surf etiquette sign sponsored by Surfrider. So these signs are a great way to get the word out about Surfrider and also educate people in bite-sized pieces. So Todd creates these gorgeous signs for us, and if you've ever seen them in person, there's one out in Westport. They're also in Oregon. Todd, what are the other locations?
I've seen pictures of them in Maine, and so all the way back east. I don't know where they're at now, but I don't know where all of them are, but
but they're out there.
They're out there.
Yeah. And so these are just a great way, they're eye-catching. It's nice to look at art, especially when you're at the beach. But so we thought that Salt Creek would be a great location to install one of these. It's kind of a beginner's surfing area. So again, it gets the Surfrider name out there, and also just talks about etiquette and how to be, a respectful surfer and beachgoer. You don't always just have to be a surfer to enjoy the beach, obviously. So thank you, Todd and Arnold, for keeping this project alive. If you're interested in helping out with signs and installing signs, we're going to have a sign committee. So we're going to talk about, what we want on the Salt Creek signs, and get them up for people to enjoy. So yeah, make a splash with us in 2021. Join on.
Things to do. I'm still waiting on pricing for signs to get that made up, but I should have one by the next EC meeting. Or have prices. I should have an answer.
Awesome.
Good.
And that's the end of the presentation there for you, Todd.
What's that?
So that's the end of the presentation for you.
Okay. Well, thank you for putting that all together.
Yeah.
That was
thank you
great.
everyone for
Yeah,
everything.
well done, Carmen.
Well done. Excellent.
Thank you.
The next thing, I don't know if we'll vote on anything tonight, but there's a couple EC roles that are potentially going to get shifted around. Maybe. We'll probably talk about it on the next EC meeting. But Gus, did you have anything?
Yeah, Todd, I did actually. I just remembered one of the things that just kind of popped up over the holidays, and I spoke briefly with Arnold on this on the phone earlier, and some of you might have heard about it, but Washington State Parks and the Navy are proposing to allow naval training exercises to occur in state parks all throughout Western Washington. And there's some concerns about that, what that might look like for visitors and recreational enthusiasts who are visiting our parks, and potentially closing some of the parks while said training is occurring. It's kind of weird because there was a public comment period that was like over the holidays. That's since been extended until January 22nd. Liz is very conveniently and helpfully dropping a link in there with more information on that, so you can check that out in the comments. But I just wanted to put that on your radar screen and see if you had any feedback on it. I'm about to step back a little bit as we've got a baby coming next week, but with the deadline rapidly approaching here, the thought kind of popped into my head that it might be a good idea for all of the chapters to, or at least for us to maybe write a letter on behalf of all the chapters, chiming in if there was any concerns about some of that or additional questions. It could also be a really good thing for the chapter to encourage people to submit individual public comments on. So I just wanted to kind of bring that to your attention and see if you had any feedback on that. Being a grassroots organization, I always like to run things by you first before plowing ahead and writing a comment letter. So yeah.
All right, thanks.
The deadline for those comments is 5 p.m. on the 22nd.
So do I understand that we'll get an email with a link that we can go to and make said comment?
Yeah, to you on the phone, that's, sorry, you're not seeing the chat function there that.
Yeah, I'm on the phone.
I'm putting it in the notes, and so we'll get that sent around tonight. So it'll be there.
Nice.
Nicole is killing it with the notes. As
generally, does that sound like a reasonable thing? Do you feel like we should submit comments on that? Is that something that you all have interest in, encouraging others to provide individual comments on?
I will be submitting a comment personally, and will probably be in whether or not it's through Surfrider or with Surfrider, I will be commenting.
You can send that link out to people.
Yep.
For people to comment on, they can comment.
Yep.
So we can send the email out to everybody.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm not sure how to go about, I know just putting it out there and making people aware of it and offering them a link. As far as that goes, I think each of us individually could do that. Beyond that, I'm not sure, Gus, what you have in mind.
Yeah, so what I had in mind was maybe just writing a comment letter on behalf of all of the Washington chapters. And I haven't had a chance to talk with the other chapters yet, but I wanted to just run it by you all tonight You know, if there's strong concerns that you had that, no, this sounds like a horrible idea, please don't do this, then I wouldn't. But if generally you feel like, yes, this is something that we should go on record about, then yeah, I think I will. And so just
Well,
kind of
I might have to
see if it sticks on the wall.
Yeah, it might be something we come to a vote on. I'm not sure how that would go out, but I think you could definitely get our chapter to sign the letter. But like I said, that would probably be a vote issue to make sure everybody's in agreement.
I mean, it could be. Unfortunately, I don't think the time really allows for, you know, truly convening for a vote. But I could put together a letter and send it, you know, at the least to you, Todd. And if you wanted me to send it to the full EC, I could do that too.
Yeah.
So that you guys all felt comfortable with that and, you know, wanted to sign on to it.
I think give everybody in the EC a chance to sign on it.
Cool.
Is there anything specific in the proposal, like a specific activity that's concerning, or is it mainly just the idea of potentially limiting access to the parks?
You know, honestly, Joe, I haven't had a chance to fully read the entire proposal because it came through on the holidays. It seems a little bit weird to me, like, you know, maybe not the best use of our state parks. And definitely some concerns about access restrictions.
Yeah, and if it nibbles away at our individual right to enjoy these places undisturbed by, you know, military, whatever they're doing, you know, exercises, then yeah, I think it's a bad idea. You know, that's just kind of, the more that happens, we've already lost access to so many good places for various different reasons. I don't see why we should tolerate giving them another reason to shut something else down.
I'd put just 2 points on that, especially right now when state parks are seeing like unprecedented use because of COVID. Like people need some kind of an outlet to be somewhere doing something outside. That we shouldn't limit any potential like recreation activity. And the other thing I would say is that state parks are state land, and the Navy is like they're a branch of the federal government, and like there's plenty of federal lands for them to be using for that.
Both very great points, Greg. Thank you. And, you know, definitely thoughts that I've had as well. You know, I've heard firsthand from state park staff that visitation and recreational use at the state parks of Washington Coast was at a record-breaking high this past year. So any restriction of any area just shifts that effort to other places and exacerbates any user conflicts and, you know, challenges, you know, for enjoyment of other people in those places, and makes them overcrowded, unfortunately. I mean, it's the same thing we're seeing out there on the strait, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, hearing no objections, I will start drafting up a letter then and get that to you all in the next few days.
Yeah, it seems like a good plan.
Cool.
Yeah, cool.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, I agree.
Thanks, Deb.
So there will be some EC roles, executive members, maybe switching around. We're kind of waiting to see how Carmen can find some help with what she does or whatnot. I think Tyler's looking for other options. So we might have a vice chair position available, so we can talk about that on the next EC meeting and maybe possibly vote on it next month. Well, and then Carmen, you'll know more about what you have in store, what's going on in your world, right? So no pressure, but things will shift around and we'll figure it out.
I'm almost done grad school now too, so I'm gonna have time in my life again. Yay. And so yeah, maybe I can get more involved. I know I've been pretty MIA. This fall's been absolutely bananas between trying to teach and trying to be a student, and I'm overwhelmed. But I'm coming up for air, so hopefully I can participate more again.
I'm so excited for you, Nessa. That's great news. I know that feeling. Yeah, I just want to say if anybody is interested in what it takes to operate the chapter sort of behind the scenes, we hold our monthly public chapter meetings, but we also, each chapter holds monthly executive committee meetings that are still open for people to attend. So if you're interested, you're welcome to join those meetings and just check out, sort of the goings on if you have, interest in potentially joining the executive committee at some point.
Yeah, I don't have an official role, but I've called into the EC a few times. I'm definitely willing to throw my name into the hat to pick up some responsibility.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, we got our eye on you. All right, thank you. And then, is there any updates, Liz? Gus, you probably covered them all already.
Gus is going to be MIA for a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Partly MIA for at least a few more weeks after that. He'll probably at least be very tired.
Congratulations on that before it happens.
And we are going to be kicking off a legislative session next week. So I'll try to keep you guys posted on if anything big happens. But our main focus is going to be maybe trying to push some seabed mining legislation, although that might end up being 2022. And then also some, hopefully a styrofoam ban is another effort, and then some recycled content rules. So we'll keep you informed on how that goes. It's going to be a crazy session because it's all virtual and it'll be probably pretty limited. And the focus is obviously going to be probably not on a lot of environmental things. It'll be a lot of COVID and economy stuff. So probably not going to be anything gangbusters after this session, but you never know. You never know. Might sneak something in there. So that's all I have. And I just wanted to give you guys all a huge shout out. This has been a great overview of all the amazing work you guys have been up to despite an intensely crazy year. And definitely a huge shout out to Carmen for putting this all together and leading the charge. And
yeah, for sure.
Making slides and finding pictures and encouraging fellow ECs to share their insight and knowledge and wisdom. It's been great.
Yeah. Done an awesome job this last year, Carmen. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
I think that's it as far as I got, unless anybody's got any questions.
I have a question.
Yes.
I guess just as someone who's dabbling in this, kind of popping in on this Zoom call, if we're interested in, being involved in a more formal way, but can't necessarily commit to something like the executive committee or whatever it's called, like what are kind of things we can do? Like, is it just how do you guys communicate? Is it just a big email that you use to kind of know the goings ons, or what can be the next step? This is my first Zoom call. I'm curious what I could do next to kind of get more involved.
That's a great question. Carmen, you got a good answer?
Yeah, so I think the best way, is to connect with us on social media. We're trying to grow our presence on Instagram. We also send out a monthly newsletter. It usually goes out a week before our chapter meetings. And so we're looking to grow the newsletter as well. That's one of our goals for 2021. And also just posting more on social media. So like volunteer opportunities, like the solo beach cleanup, that was just a fun way to get involved and to, clean up our area. And if there's just something that speaks to you that you're interested in, if there's a community that you want to join, if you want to help with Blue Water Task Force or, or just, like Gus was talking about sending a letter, like even, just right now, it feels good to send a letter to our local representatives on things that you're passionate about. If you go on our chapter page, that'll link you to the main Surfrider page, and there's just so much information on there. So it's just, kind of educating yourself, finding out what you're passionate about, and then and jumping in and keep showing up, and hopefully we have other opportunities to be involved.
Yeah,
thank you.
And I added the OPC Surfrider Gmail. It's just opcsurfrider@gmail.com. So you can always shoot the chapter an email, and it's sort of like a collective email. So we all kind of keep an eye on it. And so if you have any questions or cool ideas, and then if you have any specific skill sets that you're like, hey, I can use this, even if it's something we've never done or seen or used before, like we're always open to cool ideas. So, and again, you don't have to be officially on the EC to join, to like check in on EC meetings and be a little bit more involved without like the official commitment.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'd like to also add that we've, for the past year, we've been dealing with COVID challenges, so we haven't had our normal events, but we do during the beach cleanups and the Earth Day beach cleanups, we do a barbecue out at Hobart, and we feed all the volunteers, and we always need help with that. And then also our big fundraiser every year is the International Surfing Day celebration, where we have an event at Harbinger Winery, and that requires a whole lot of volunteers and a lot of time. So when we get rolling again in a more normal format of operation, we'll certainly need a lot of help in those areas, and help is always appreciated. So, watch for us to be able to get back to more normal procedures in the near future, hopefully.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Thank you.
International Surf Day is a big event, and it takes a lot to make it work, and to get all the pieces together. So hopefully we'll have an opportunity to do that again soon. But we do need a lot of volunteers on that one.
We'll probably need to start talking about that too pretty soon.
If it's going to happen this year, I'll definitely start getting on it.
Keep our eyes peeled. Probably next month or two. But all right. Thanks for everybody. Go ahead, Joe.
That brings up one other question. How's our funding holding up, since we weren't able to generate any money last year from sweatshirt sales and the ISD event and all that? How's that looking?
We're holding pretty well. I think we only dropped about 2,000 in what we earned from the year before. So we're on a good pace.
Well, it's a good thing we had that bumper event just before this happened. Our last ISD generated a good chunk of money.
Yeah.
Holding up. Yeah.
So we've maintained it for sure. I think we've done well at maintaining it.
Good.
The payment for the Winterfest volunteer work came in 2022, so that was a bump, 1,200.
Yeah, I hope that comes back next year. That was pretty cool. I can see that event growing. And thank you, Todd, for linking us up with the Ridge for that event. I could see us doing that.
Yeah, they're having the same problems we're having. But it'll probably be a good team effort again.
Well, we got to keep those Sani Cans funded, because
Oh yes, that's it. That's bottom line right there.
That is truly an essential service.
It's truly.
Yeah, we can't lose that.
Yeah.
And we got to keep it going with the flow.
Even simple things like if you are involved with like art or instruments or board shops or anything, like having just connections for donations for like auctions and things to help fundraise. Like there's so many different opportunities to contribute and help collectively. So, cool idea.
Just being in touch with what's going on with the chapter, you can always kind of find something to pull out of your hat. It seems like there's always some way.
Something to jump in.
Yeah, everybody's got some talent that they're good at using.
Sorry, my phone died.
No worries. You're back. But I think that's about it for the meeting though, right? Nobody else has got anything?
No, just thank you to all the people that joined for the first time. I think this was
Yeah.
a record for our virtual chapter meetings. Usually they've been pretty small. So welcome Mike and Greg and Alexi and Phelan and Claire. And it's just really great.
Yeah, welcome. That's great.
Yeah, thank you all.
Largest this year. All right.
All right. Great to see everybody. Thank you all. I will share a link to the recording. I'll upload this to YouTube's at some point in the near future.
Bye.
Bye.
All right.
All right.
Stay healthy. Be safe.
Yeah, good night, everyone.
Make
Good
good decisions.
You guys.
Bye.